Hi, I am Norimaki SR. I am known for all of my runs of Shantae. I am not the best runner, but I'm going to spend some time today giving you guys a little bit of a brief tutorial on how to do beach mode for the Shantae Half-Genie hero game. We do have a tournament coming up shortly, so that'll be the purpose for this. It won't be super in-depth. There's not really a lot to discuss as it comes down to like what you can or can't do in the game. It comes down to a lot of comfort levels, so you're just gonna have to like practice the route, but I will give you a lot of tips and tricks that'll kind of hopefully at least bolster your confidence in probably what is known throughout the community as the worst costume mode. As I call it, it's basically hard mode jammies or jammies is easy mode beach mode. They're kind of similar, but beach mode obviously is way more punishing. Deaths are very painful. Management of the gems not quite as important, fortunately, like by comparison to what jammies has, but they definitely do help. So without too much to do here, obviously time will start on new game. Whenever you do that, I'm not going to be running a timer because obviously I'm going to be pausing and talking through strategies and things like that. Most important things to remind yourself as you're going into this mode is that one, again, the gems aren't as important, so feel free to take damage boosts when and where you feel the need to, but be cognizant of your health, as obviously the sun meter will have a play on that. So always be mindful of that. Generally, I like to think of this mode as being cyclic. You make a lot of cycles, you probably won't have to worry about the sun meter too much. There are some times it maybe it'll be preferable to take a little bit of like sun damage, but usually you can avoid it as long as you meet certain cycles and be safe. It may not be the fastest, but it certainly will be safer. And in a race format, I can go a long way in this particular category. The second thing to remember, it's something very similar to Jammies mode, is there is bubble jumping or bubble boosting, and then of course hovering techniques as well that can be done, and they're both run the exact same way between the two modes. So it's just a quicker way of getting some momentum off the ground, which can help you avoid some damage and skip some cycles you're not waiting around, so that'll make that. So we'll demonstrate that here shortly, especially within the first stage, quickly. So yada yada yada. Of course, you're skipping dialogue. Guns out, buns out. Let's go. Now, depending on the mode that you're in, you either can save the game. I think it's faster on console to not save. I know Turkey is an example of a runner of this particular game, goes for no saves at all because it's actually faster for him. But on PC, if your mashing is good enough, it's usually pretty much faster to do so. So obviously in a race format, you want to save everywhere. You got to save every screen, not screen transition, but like chapter one. So it's like a stage to stage platformer. For those of you not familiar with this mode, obviously, it's the same between PC, Ultimate Edition, whatever. It's all the same version. There's no version differences. There's no out-of-bounds trickery or anything like that. This is straightforward gameplay, so you shouldn't have to worry about that too much in regards to that, and there's no advantage of one version over another. So, this obviously, you just skip this anyway, because blah. It's just a basic tutorial. All right, so your friend is this stuff right here. You'll notice on the side that I'm starting to get a meter, and Shantae starts to glow. The sun in Sequin Land is absolutely brutal. Absolutely brutal. It doesn't matter how much you have. One thing of sunscreen just erases it right away. Now the problem is it immediately starts again, but sunscreen respawns. So that's an important thing to keep in mind as you're kind of going through this. If you ever do get yourself stuck or in trouble, you can always revert back to a previous iteration of sunscreen. I wonder if I can. I think I can. You can also restart a room, whatever, to do to kind of like revert things. So that's a really nifty trick if something goes really bad right away and you want to eat the extra time it takes to obviously go back into the save room and reload the room. You can do that as well. So, all right. So really quick, just to kind of go over this really fast. So the jump, bubble jumping, is kind of a roll. You have a jump, and as you jump, press bubble. And you see that Shantae goes up in the air quicker. That's versus this, which kind of roll it. You do get a little bit of a speed boost, and that's going to be very important to dodging some potential damage. So you got to remember to do that. So just keep an eye on the display indicator over there, you can see I'm rolling kind of in a claw format. I'm using a claw method to do that. I don't know if you can remap buttons in this game, but there might be a better remapping that would work better for you if you want to mess around with those options and stuff things to do. So you can certainly avoid a lot of problems here. So you're going to see I'm going to use that to get by these guys like no problem. Now movement selections and options. One thing to remember about Shantae in this mode is swimming is way faster than running. Look how fast she goes by comparison to crossing here. And the second thing that water does is it actually resets your sun meter. So use water whenever possible when it makes sense in the route. Very important that you do that. And then you can always just up right on out of there, so it's actually a little bit faster to go ahead and do that. Gems here. Avoid. In this category, we're actually going to try to avoid things like that. Oh God, I really screwed this up tonight. How bad is this going to be? There's no sunscreen right here, is there? Back to the water really quick. Actually, there's some sunscreen right there. You notice, obviously, as the sunscreen or the sun like does its thing, you take a lot of damage, and it goes quick. It goes very, very quick. That's what I wanted to do through there, because then it just pops you right on through. The other attack that she's got is the beach ball. So you'll notice that that is a thing. It's not the most like best weapon. It's more of a quick way of getting things in midair. So yeah, again, like one thing with Shantae in these games is that she does stop when she's whipping. Air whipping is slow, and she will halt her movement to do it. But you know, by hitting trigger button or A button, in the case of like my Xbox controller, B button, you are able to punk little things like that with that. It will break pots, so you could get gems a little bit quicker just with movement, general movement option basically. So you just want to run in the water and then boom, you'll be grabbing those gems as you continue to move forward. So it's not a bad thing you can do. And again, just bubble jump wherever possible just to get yourself a little bit of speed. Now, as I was talking about, things around the gem counts. I mean, the only thing that is really impacting in this mode for you is your hair damage. So your hair damage is predicated on like your gem level, and you can see the meter there on the left-hand side along with your magic and things like that. Obviously, level 4 gives you the most. You do 8 points of damage. Take 1 damage away for every level below that. And that is where most of your DPS is going to come from. Unfortunately, it doesn't increase whipping speeds, so you're at kind of like Shantae's default air whip speed, and that's going to be at best not the most ideal scenario, obviously, but it's where your damage is going to come from. So try to remain level 4 as much as you can. Level 3 is an acceptable amount, but you know, for the most part, you want to try to do that. So that's kind of the basics of this run in a nutshell. Just water wherever possible. Try not to lose your gem counts like I am right now. And obviously, I'm just gonna show like the differences here. That's basically all I'm doing and what it can do. And I'm gonna get rusted myself here. And then of course, watch out for these things. They do try to put them in some places where it's really, really annoying, but they're not too hard to dodge. I think you can get through this run without grabbing a single one, which would be the ideal scenario. But be mindful of these things, because they do eat like whatever you're doing when you hit them is interrupted. So be very careful of that, because like you do this, you grab it, it's going to give you this cutscene, which 1 is slow, and 2, then immediately erupts everything that you're trying to do. So if you're trying to float in a bubble and you grab one, that bubble is going to burst and you're going to go falling. So you've got to be ready for that. If you're moving upwards, it actually kills your upwards momentum. As soon as that cutscene ends, you're falling. So be very mindful of that whenever you might be in danger of grabbing. So yeah, just the Dream Squids, great for 100%. If you do want to get one out of the way early so you don't have to worry about the rest, feel free, but make sure it's a safe one, because things like on the auto scrollers, you can run into some big time trouble if you're going to grab one. So just to kind of go over the first stage from the beginning, we'll kind of reset here and do that from the start. mode. So this will be more kind of what it looks like from a speedrun. I'm a little rusty at this, so I apologize for any mistakes I make. We'll do the best that we can to get through this. And I'll go through kind of each stage, kind of bit by bit, give you at least an idea of what it'll look like. May not be perfect. If you do want like faster, higher level strats, then definitely I recommend that you watch Space Narc's run, as he's got an extremely solid and 2-minute faster PB than I have in this mode. Again, in water, wherever you can, just goes faster. Bubble jumping. Gems. See if I can get this one. Oh, nope, I goofed up my movement there. Oh, come on. And Shantae will do that with gems, so just be careful. Sometimes she's just like, nah, you know what? I don't need those. I don't need those gems at all. Up we go. That's a little tight, but it could definitely doable. Oh yes, and ceilings. I forgot about that. Ceilings are the bane of your existence. There is an invisible ceiling up there at the top of the screen, and it will indeed eat your bubble. It eats your bubble big time. And well, that stinks. That's a big difference between that and Jammy's mode. So if you're coming from Jammy modes to this, be ready to experience that, because you can't float forever. As soon as you touch that ceiling, it pops. Shantae comes crashing down to whatever is waiting below her. So be ready for that. I did forget about that particular one. Otherwise, that's kind of stage 1 in a nutshell. I took maybe a little bit more damage than I want to there, but stage 2 isn't too much different other than you can immediately just do this, pop up here. Oh, well, I did it poorly. Try that again. So basically the first thing you want to do in stage 1, 2 is just immediately bubble jump and get that momentum upwards. Get that momentum upwards so you don't really have to delay, and then boom, do it again, boom. Easy mode stuff. I'm just gonna take damage here. Now here's the fun part. So if you press jump out of the bubble, Shantae can like basically immediately bubble again. There's like a little delay, but it's better than letting the bubble pop from another means, or if you touch the ceiling, or it times out. If you do that, the jump is, or like the reapplication of the bubble is way delayed, and it sucks. Also, hi Moni, hi Narc. Narc, if I'm missing anything important you need me to touch on for these, feel free. Just the same deal that you made for me, an officer, when I joined you. So yeah, if there's anything else, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Space Narc, is in chat to help give guidance and things like that on these particular modes. Certainly, it's probably been a while for him too, but we'll do the best we can. But yes, be mindful of how you're busting the bubble. Also, gem count gathering. This is a good spot for it. You take this upper route. You got all of these gems that you can collect. You got all of these gems you can collect. So that's a good way of getting some really like a big build up on your levels and things like that. Yeah, trust me, Narc, I get the same thing. What's up, Phantom? Good to see you as well. You know, I need to sunscreen. But yeah, bubble jumping across here. If you'll just notice, I'm just jumping and reapplying bubble. You can make it to the end of this screen before you have to worry about losing out on everything. If you need additional health, at last pot on every stage is going to be a full health drop. So you can use that to replenish any health you got. This other big pot here, I believe, is another 12 gems. So you can snag that up as needed. And then easy to get through this stage. Now, normally you'd probably rather be like level 3. Magic benefits, I guess I'll talk about it too. So as levels go up, you're able to do a little bit more with your magic. So right now at level 2, I'm only going to be able to throw out 2 beach balls. Doesn't really matter in this particular mode because beach balls don't do anything. It's like 3 points of damage. So it's more like there are uses for it later in the run, but at the beginning it doesn't really matter. So again, so I say really it's more about your hair damage. So the levels that you want to get are going to be around that particular one. I believe that I will not be able to get level 3 with the first bell. And I don't think it actually drops gem in this mode because the requirement of keeping your sunscreen applied. So every time you hit a bell, you're going to get sunscreen. You're not going to get money. which is unfortunate, but that's the way it is. But this is a very straightforward boss. Poop Toot is nothing to write home about, never is. No one ever dies to this boss in any mode whatsoever, except maybe ninja mode. In ninja mode, you can die to this boss, and it's not pretty. But we try to avoid that wherever possible. So again, just it's basically the same thing. You're always gonna you're going to want to basically just bubble jump it, and then just get in there and get some damage done. Now, one thing you can do, you could. I was gonna say, am I gonna get a ring here or what? Because that was getting a little sketchy. You gotta watch out for Risky. She is a sniper too. Risky is the sniper and a half of this boss. Alright, now so yeah, no way of getting damage there. Basically, you want to make sure that you try to get your gem count up. Probably ideally level 3 for this boss. It goes a little bit quicker. I think you could 2-cycle it if everything goes proper. With that, the sunscreen will come from the bell. Usually you're going to get that way before you have to worry about your sun meters, so you don't have to worry about tanking the sun damage eventually when it gets there. And yeah, I hope you're happy too. That's stage 1 in a nutshell. We'll move on to the more complicated crap now. That's the basics. Got it? Good. You're ready to run beach mode. Good luck. Just kidding. All right, now I think if I can just get that one part down, look like somewhat good. We'll try to do this. All right, so stage 2 is straightforward. I'll try to meet these cycles as best I can. Obviously, again, no problem swimming. Go for it. Feel free to not avoid that if at all possible. There you go. Grab these gems. I'm gonna take some damage here just for the sake of doing so. To beat this cycle, I'm going to take this a little bit safer. This, that. Easy enough to get to this sunscreen soon enough. I'm going to stop for those gems. I'm going to lose some to get some, but easy enough. And that is basically what you kind of want to do. You can do that a little bit cleaner through that stage, just to make it like a little bit more simple. You obviously could do the platforming navigation a lot quicker with some well-timed like releases and bubble jumps again and get through that just smidge. But for a good safe route, it's not a terrible way to go. You can just basically do that and be able to get through with a moderate gain of gems without stopping for those. So we'll go with that and move forward. God, I really hope that my video editing software still works. Right, stage 2-2. No shenanigans in this first stage. Bubble jumping doesn't get you anywhere very quickly. You're more likely to get in trouble doing that, so try to avoid it wherever possible. Just kind of do things, go over monsters where you can, go in the water where you can. It's not a huge amount of time saved, but it's a little bit. Now, your first philosophy here is to go straight up immediately in this room. This gets you, I would say it would be kind of the more traditional route that I think a lot of runners will take. The only problem with it is that you generally, you know, you can pick up these gems over here. Then have to worry about going to the left and worrying about those particular guys. But you can get back on the platform train pretty quick to be able to do your bubble jumps to get your vertical ascension. Try to be careful of that bat if at all possible. And then there's your next sunscreen. And you could do this. That wasn't too bad. Like just using that ring for a little bit of a momentum boost to get up there. And then don't worry about these guys. Just take the damage. And try to punk these with your beach ball so that you're not pausing like that. And then you're going to hit your slide and head on out. So that's route number 1. There is a second route that Narc uses that has a few extra platforms that I think's a little safer in regards to like not having to worry about the bats. And you don't have to play it quite as safe because it's a little bit more clear of obstacles. I'm going to take one part of it very slow just because I'm not very consistent with it, but it'll give you a general idea of what you want to look for. So basically, again, same thing, just hopping right through. Air triggers on the back of my controller striking again. So instead of going straight up this time, hop over here at these. I'm gonna take this a little bit safer, slower, right through here. And then it's basically a straight ascension up. So whenever you get to another platform, make sure you do the bubble jump to get your vertical height. I'm gonna take this a little slow. Grab your sunscreen here. And then basically same thing from now on out. You basically just climb straight up. So it's a little bit more of a straight vertical climb in that regard, but it does have a lot less of the electric bats. So it can definitely feel safer and a little bit more consistent to get through and preserve a good amount of level. You get back as you go, and then that, and you go, and you're gonna go on the next slide. Cool, 2-2, done, let's go. All right, so let's see, 3, 2, 1. All right, so moving on to the next stage. This one, there's not a lot to talk about other than let's being very careful about certain things. Welcome to Auto Scroller number 1. You do have to still worry about the sun, but there are plenty of bottles. I say plenty as if there are a billion of them. Plenty of bottles of sunscreen to be gotten. Now, the main thing that you want to watch for here is not jumping over the sunscreen like I just did. And then that dream squid. So that little punk right there, and remember what I said about dream squids at the beginning of the game, is that they can be deadly. If you grab one in the wrong spot, you're likely to probably fall into a pit and die. I got lucky on that one. It's probably the one that you're going to end up picking up. Now, the advantage that I've got with this particular pickup is that I don't have to worry about dodging them again. I can pick them up and it won't pause my game. It won't interrupt what I'm doing. It's probably safe, at least, to grab one somewhere. My recommendation would be like one that's not out of the way, maybe early game. That's up to you. If you're really good, try to avoid it, because obviously from a speed run perspective, grabbing one costs time. And there are certain modes where you're going to have to do that, and it's just one of the things we accept. At this mode, you could technically get away with not grabbing one, but I don't know, maybe it's faster to grab one anyway. So I got lucky there that it was one that was in a spot where I wasn't likely to have the interruption, and fortunately I got that sunscreen at the end of that arc. So we'll continue. Now, the other good thing about this particular stage is, as long as you're being very careful and you're not worrying about taking too much damage here, like the barrels are very easy to avoid. And in fact, they've really simplified this stage and removed some of the problems there. Oh, that was keep in mind that little trick there, that first barrel jump. If you bubble, you'll grab the sunscreen, and you can tell I was getting up there a little bit. And then you also get the added bonus of avoiding trying to dodge these barrels. The second thing that obviously you want to do here is just keep your gem count up. So if you take a hit, don't sweat it during the course of this. You're going to get plenty of gems throughout the course of this, and then be able to go into the next boss with level 4. So, just be mindful of the pits. Try not to fall off the platforms. You can just punk these guys with a beach ball anytime they show up. 3, 4, jump. That late sunscreen there, very important. It's after the 4th gem. 1, 2, 3, 4, jump. You grab it, you're going to be clear, and that should actually carry me. Well, there's plenty more. That's another dream squid that you can likely grab. That one could get you in trouble, that one I just grabbed. So be mindful of that one coming. You might even want to think about bubbling over that entire segment just to avoid it, because if that is your first one, you're likely to have your jump completely eaten. If you haven't jumped at all, you're probably not going to jump after coming out of that. So that one will likely toss you into a pit for sure. So be very, very, very careful about that particular dream squid that I just picked up. By then, again, if you've opted to just pick one up beforehand, that's fine, do whatever. And then this is a free ride. Like I said, they simplified this from the other versions where they've taken out a lot of the barrel work, which thanks way forward, ? I don't know, but that's I guess you traded the deadly dream squid of death there that I picked up versus less barrels to avoid. At any rate, we're moving on to the end of stage 2 and our boss with Giga Waifu. We start off obviously with a cutscene, so you want to make sure you're smashing start to get through that particular one, and then you got another cutscene to get through, and we get into the fight. So this one is a thing. again, like the main thing that you're wanting to do here is keep your gem count as high as possible. So we're maxed out. We want to be level 4, and the beach balls can help you here, but they're not the ideal scenario by any stretch, just because they do so much less damage. The problem with this boss is the RNG. So there are attacks that we want to see, there are attacks we don't want to see. If some guy by the name of Mr. Phantom Soul happens to be in your chat, he's going to be blessing all the hype beams, which hype beams are fine unless they're close to you. And then they're not so fine. You know, if they stay away from you and they're not targeted, then you could probably get away with a lot of damage here. Now, the tricky part is obviously on top of the boss fight, you've got to deal with your sun buildup, heat buildup from that. Each lock you break will drop at least a sunscreen, so you want to make sure that you're breaking these in a good clip. And then the second thing they'll drop, I think, is gems. I can't remember for sure, but we will try to see exactly what it is. But the main thing is just keeping a good cadence in breaking these. You don't want to linger in this fight too long. And then the other attacks that the mermaid can do, and likely we'll see, are targeted little bubbles, which are quick, and they will come after you. They move in a straight line to a certain point, they stop, they retarget you, and they move to you again. And then there's a big chaser giant bubble, which will do significant amount of damage itself, and will slowly follow you, and it takes up a lot of space on the screen, so dodging it can be tricky. Those are the main attacks you're going to want to watch out for here. We're going to see how this fight goes. Basically, again, it's just break the 6 locks as quickly as possible. Don't worry about anything else. You can use your bubbles, obviously, to get up as quickly as possible to the higher ones. I like to take out the higher ones in this regard as quickly as possible. Oh, speaking of height beams, I probably could have taken that out, but I'm going to just take this safe and go over here. It's going to be slower in effect. I'm going to run back over here. Okay, so it's every other lock drops you a sunscreen. That's basically it. All right, so this next phase is tricky. Ideally, you're going to want to use the bubble jump to your advantage. So you really want to use that as your method of getting up there. The hitbox and damage point for the boss is the giant red gem on her forehead. That's what you're aiming for. Nothing else will help you here. You want to go for that. So you could play it safe and sit back here around the middle of the stage and just punk her with peach balls all day. You've got plenty of magic. You could just take her down by using beach ball attack. Don't jump up in the air or anything. Just stand where you are and mash that B button and she'll launch them. But quicker if you can get in there and really get some damage done. So might do that. This is an unfortunate bit of RNG. If you're doing this for PBs, this is not what you want to see RNG wise. You don't want a tail. Although nice, it will drop you a sunscreen to take care of the sun problem. So it's not the worst thing in the world, but it does eat time. And obviously you can kill her faster than you'd have to worry about the sun. See, so that's really it. You just want to jump up there, get in her face, and start whipping. Top, middle, wait, left, middle, top, bottom, right, middle, top, bottom, not RNG, every second phase is, oh, okay. So, okay, unlike other phases, then I guess it's not RNG. Thank you, Narc, for correcting me on that. But basically, that's really what you want to do in the fight. Like I said, you can take it safer. You can stand in the middle of the platform and just launch beach balls all day. And at that point, you can get this mini out. So they're going to be going, and you could just destroy her gem with that. It's a little slower, but way safer than what I just did. Either rate, it is what it is, and you move forward. So it's that first phase. Watch out for the attacks. Otherwise, everything else is coming right. All right, stage 3-1. Welcome to the desert. This one's a very cut and dry hold right scenario, but there are things to note here. These giant pots, always a good spot for any gems you lost. During the course of your fight with the mermaid, there are plenty of sunscreens to be had. The big thing you want to be kind of mindful of is exactly where you're going to be. So how high do you want to play? How low do you want to play? You can get some advantages here. Again, Shantae does move faster in water, but the stage doesn't have a lot. There's about one good spot for that, which would be right about here. You can at least get some speed out and then whatever. But for the most part, I would say that your safer play, at least from a racing perspective, just stay in the air. That way you don't have to worry about things like the jerk birds. You don't have to worry about the cactus spines sniping you, those kind of things. If you do take a hit, there is plenty of opportunity to get money. You can see here, there's gem pots everywhere. So, you know, don't be afraid of this stage. You can go a little bit longer without picking up sunscreen. Plenty along the way without you having to worry about catching on fire. And again, stay up as high as you want to. Play with the water if you really want to. And then easy, lemon squeezy stage. Moving on to probably what we are I'm about to say is one of the trickier ones. May not be the hardest stage, but it's definitely one of the trickier ones. So get ready for the tower climb in 3, 2. All right, tower ascension is the thing we'll talk about here shortly before you get going. So this is a vertical climb, so that means a lot of bubble jumping is going to be your friend. Basically, you're basically going to try to beat some cycles. You're going to have to respect some others. That's basically it. Fortunately, no archers in here. God, if archers were in here, this stage would be absolutely impossible. Oh man, so yeah, let's basically you just got the usual stuff. You're gonna have a chase, same with Wilbur, as per like the base game. He's gonna come up and he's gonna be after you. If you land on Wilbur, it's an insta gib, you're done. You have to start the entire stage over again. Same thing if you run out of HP, you die and you game over. It's gonna take you back to the save, which is, well, you're at the bottom of the tower, so you want to avoid that wherever possible. But otherwise, like I said, you can get through a lot of crazy stages. I know there's one part in particular that hung up a lot of casual players, and that's the part with the 3 fire statues. You're gonna laugh how easy it is to get by them when you use bubble jump techniques. So here we go. Basically just climb as fast as possible, watch out for things, and let's go. I wouldn't worry about gems here as much. I mean, your first sunscreen is like here, so no reason to go out of your way. You can do this right against the wall here. Just don't hit left or right. Don't even think about hitting left or right. You'll be fine. Every time you get to a platform, just pop out and do the bubble jump again. Need gems. Here's some right here. You can do either one of those. Doesn't really matter. Just get up here as quickly as you can. Respect these bubbles. You can outrun those, so let's do that. And then
sunscreen.
I like to swing out away from this guy just to give him some respect and space. Ba-ba-ba-ba-bum. Good jump there will allow you to beat those fireballs. Got that last sunscreen there, and you're out of the tower. Very easy peasy. That'll take some practice. Obviously, again, get good at the bubble jumping. That's like your biggest friend there, for sure. But otherwise, that's that stage in a nutshell. Plenty of sunscreen in path. You don't really have to worry about the timing, and as long as you keep the flow going, easy peasy. Moving on. Yeah, well, I mean, are they though, Narc? Because if you do the cloud jump, same thing you do with bubble jump, don't you just do it that simpler, or they shoot faster? I think they shoot faster, don't they? Which makes them a problem. Because you're right, I remember those statues being way worse in jammies. You don't want to think about hot summers, but Elkith, like a good warm thought is what'll warm you up inside, right? Or if that fails, just grab a dram of scotch. Oh, that's right. There are no platforms. I did forget about that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, jammies is like a movement thing. Like you do a jump to get in a position, and then you kind of have to weave your way a little bit. I remember that now. Oof. Yeah, that sucks. Rather grab a coffee. That's fair. Let's die to the Skybridge for a bit. I don't do well being hot either. I'd rather be cold, but I've been way too cold this year. It's been way too cold this year at Hellcat. All right, Miller, take care. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you coming along with the raid from GG Speedruns. Hope you enjoyed that, and we'll catch you around, bud. Okay, Skybridge. Cycles, 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 right? We got the health, full health up here right up front. Helping you. What's the first? I forgot the timing there. You can do something really slick there. I've unfortunately forgotten what that timing looks like. Whoop. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. I'm in danger. I'm in danger. Oh god, I really wanted the health. I'm not gonna lie. That archer is the worst. I need to remember to talk about her. She is a bitch. This archer is a bitch. I do need to remember to talk about her. That is really it, sound offense. But the problem is you don't have as much wiggle room as you'd like. But basically, yeah, that's it. Ignore the stage as much as possible. But you have to do it with some respect, because you're going to have to get a sense for how fast Shantae falls and know how to recharge the bubble in midair. You can't let it time out. You can't bump into the invisible ceiling up top. If you do, you're likely to just fall to your death. So it's just, it's going to take practice. I'm not going to lie. This stage is all about practice to do so. And then this freaking archer is the absolute worst, because as you're going through the door and you think you're safe, she's going to shoot you in the butt as you're going through. You're actually going to start the Wilbur fight down gems and a heart if you're not paying attention to her. Yeah, the sunscreen locations are important, but the tricky part is, and I think I even watched Narc do this, Narc just took some sun damage to get through this on a quick pace, because some of those you have to really stop yourself, and it puts you in, like, those sunscreens that I grabbed, some of those were scary. Not from, like, well, you saw how low my health got down to. Like, I took a lot more damage than I should have there. So I want to practice this a few times. I do want to practice this one a few times because I really want to get it down smooth. But I believe it's worth your time to just take some sun damage rather than going out of your way for sunscreen in some spots. It's just because there's so many dang platforms. Those gems back. Be like, there, I hit the cap of where I wanted to be. I was like, I'm just gonna hop off this platform really quick for the sake of it, and then I completely missed. There, it's a good song. Never want to be down there. I need to restart the screen anyway. Damn it. You don't want to be down here. You don't want to ever get down. If you get down below those two archers, you're screwed. Because on top of them constantly shooting, you've got the freaking jerk birds that start to spawn in, and it's like the worst. The absolute worst case scenario. Whatever you do, you stay away from that lower part of that. How much damage am I willing to take here? I'm gonna keep going for a second. That's a lot of damage I just took. That wasn't worth it. I just wanted to try it out. So I want to stop that first one for sure. All right, next upcoming stage is Skybridge. Skybridge is rough. Skybridge is pain. There's a lot going on. We've got archers and platforms, and remember, anything that touches you, you're going to lose your bubble. So the rhythmic bubble jumping in air is going to be your best friend here. Basically, what we're going to be looking to do is try to fly over the stage as much as possible, but going to be mindful of our sunscreen here. So you got to kind of like know when to come down, when to go back up, and you're going to have to learn that a little bit. It's tricky. So this will definitely be one of the harder stages, I think, to at least get down at some level. There are some very minor safeties that you can do, but do be mindful that any stop of progress is likely to add additional trouble down the road in the form of the jerk birds that drop bombs. Those things do 4 points of damage, one entire heart. So you don't want to see them if you can avoid it. And in the very end, there's a special surprise with the freaking archer that you've got to be very mindful about too. So let's try to do this. Free health right here, beginning. So anything that you lost in the tower climb, feel free to replenish there. Go underneath here. Oh dear. Okay, well, it's not, that could have been worse. I did take a shot there, but ideally I wouldn't have wanted to bust out of my bubble there, but I did. Down. You can do a quick bubble jump there to actually avoid those, or you can just pause for safety. And lost gems you can easily replenish in this stage too. There's plenty up top to get. I'm gonna come down here for this safety here. You don't have to. That one that you got should carry you. Speaking of 4 points of damage. A little bit faster, a little bit safer to just go ahead and skip that pot there, just because it'll keep you out of the archers. And you can keep going, and then there's a big pot here if you need it. Bang. Sunscreen here. And again, your gem count doesn't really matter right now. There's going to be plenty of time to worry about your gem count after this. This is where your rhythmic bubble jumping is going to matter. Because you have to avoid the ceiling there. And then watch out for this archer. Get through the door as quickly as possible. I think I still just got shot in the butt. If you're quick enough there, like basically come down. If you don't have to stop for the health, you should just be able to walk into the door. It should despawn everything. But I think I just took a shot in the butt on the way into that door. And she will do that to you too. So you can lose health going into that boss fight. And there's nothing you can do about it once it actually takes hold. So at any rate, here we go. Tower's done, Chitin. We got through that very easily from that perspective. We're getting ready to go into Wilbur. Speaking of, I don't even really need to talk about this. There's no practice needed. Wilbur is Wilbur. Wilbur is, anyone who's played this game knows what this boss fight's all about. There are a couple of things that you need to do in order to kind of get through it. Narc seems to prefer whipping the eyeball. I'm going to give you a little better option, in my opinion. in that regard. So we're going to go ahead and go into that. Actually, the cutscene, the fight is no different than you expect. In fact, he does preemptively aim at you though, so do be mindful of that. It's not as free and easy as the 1.0, but I guess if you're playing Ultimate Edition, that's nothing new anyway. Like, you're already getting that. In this mode, you will get the fireball first because they beat the sunscreen sector. So it just makes it a little bit like safer for you to not have to worry about that. So it's basically hit the red rock, make sure you get it into the cannon. Don't step on the switch before the thing reaches the cannon or it's trouble. And then you can either air whip these, and every other hit is the sunscreen, or you can do that. I prefer using the beach ball. We've got plenty of magic here, and it's not really required to keep. So at least you can use that to your advantage and keep it away and be able to hit it, like, you know, in a safer capacity than hair whipping, because as it goes, it's going to go faster and it will be a little trickier. I'm actually going to take damage here. Wow. Fortunately, there's also plenty of health that drops in this with the eyeballs as well. So, you know, you shouldn't have to worry about both either your health or that, but you want to try to keep your gem count flowing. You don't want to start losing your gem count here like I have been. Yeah, honestly, I think it's safer to use the beach ball method, hit the eyeball, than it is to whip it. That was stupid. Cannon jump for the win. I want to see if I can get a cannon bubble jump at the end, though, just for old time's sake. Oops. Unless you're bad like me and can't run out of magic. I said there was plenty of magic, then I run out of magic. But to be fair, I missed a few shots, so that would be part of the reason why. Oh gosh! Wilbur, you jerk! That's basically it. Wilbur in a nutshell. Normally you'd have a little bit more magic than that and wouldn't have to worry about it being a problem. But that's the fight. I mean, the RNG, of course, of that being, will the fireball be near you or not? That's the same problem with every version of this game, or every version of the run. Is it's going to be, how far do you have to chase it down? You do have some time that you're probably going to be burned a little bit by the sun, but it's not significant amount. Just stay on top of it. Make sure you get those fireballs handled and dealt with, and you don't have to worry about it. If you happen to miss a fireball going into a cannon, if let's say you break the fireball in the cannon, or you completely miss getting to it in time and it breaks, because it will do that over enough time, oh, I'm sorry, you're probably going to take a death. You're probably going to take a death there, because it'll be so long before you see another sunscreen, and you want to avoid that wherever possible. So just make sure you don't miss a cycle. That's the best advice I can tell you right there, is do not miss a cycle. For the sunscreen eye drops, wait until it's almost respawning to pick it up. Yeah, that's true. Also, yeah, to Nark's point as well, wait until the last possible minute as you start to see it blinking to despawn. That's probably when you want to grab it. Just extends the window, I guess you could say, for, you know, between drops, to avoid taking any damage. But it's not the most dangerous of fights. I'd say the bigger thing is prioritize making the cycle before you worry about anything else. All right, let's practice up. I don't think there's anything to really talk about here. Auto scroller.
Let's go.
kill everything. Grab sunscreen, use bubble, do whatever. It's actually a good chance to get your gem count back up. Really a chill stage. I'm going to take the opportunity to kill everybody I can for that purpose. Be mindful of that little guy if you're still avoiding those. Sunscreen hiding right back here. Always good to know. Feels like forever otherwise. Watch out for that little bugger. Oh yeah, and don't go off the edge of the screen here. If you do, you explode and, well, you have to start the stage over. So do try to keep up with the said auto scroller. Twitch and vinegar fight. So this will be a thing. This is one of the few opportunities that you're actually going to enjoy having beach ball. So technically you'd want to be 4 here. I've lost a lot of health just because of screwing around, redoing stages to get the takes and whatnot. Ideally, you're probably here at level 4, to be fair. If you're not, you were probably close enough to it, and you've got level 4 through the course of this. So this fight is really as easy as it sounds. It's basically spam beach ball and let it do its work. Ideally, you'll probably take them both out before you run out of magic, but if you don't, likely what you're going to have to do is get 1 or 2 hair strikes in here at some point. So this isn't a very difficult fight in this mode. Obviously, there are easier ones and there are more difficult ones. I think this is probably the second easiest fight of the categories when it comes to the costume modes, and depending on how good you are, it might be the third. But I'd say officer mode could either be harder or easier depending. There's a few other nuances with officer mode, but for beach mode, like I said, it's basically don't take damage. So mind where you stand. But beach balls do enough damage. Like, they basically reduce the health pool of the girls here, because they know that you're not getting any sort of, like, you're not getting any sunscreen drops in this. So you have to be able to take them out quick. It's a very easy fight because of the fact that they didn't have a good way of giving you protection from the sunburn, basically. And that's why it's not so bad. Beach mode. Next up, we have airships. Outside of airships, very standard stage. Basically, the only thing is you got the occasional low ceiling that shows up, and the low ceiling is what you see basically at the top of the screen here. But staying up and away from these things will kind of keep guys from spawning. Then you just got to worry about the grenade launchers and these cannon guys, which actually will be negated through the use of bubble jumping if you do it proper. Can at least help. This is a prey. Unfortunately, you're likely to take the 4 points of damage there. The soldier wall will be a thing. Coming down here will get you some gems, as well as another sunscreen, so you don't have to worry about that too much. This is another full health if you need it. This is some gems if you need those. But yeah, again, low ceilings, and that's the problem. I think if you're quick enough, you can actually get into, like, the very first beams location without problems. That's full health again if you need it. But otherwise, this is pretty straightforward and standard. The only other thing you've got to worry about here is this guy, which if you take a damage boost here, you can get through. But you can drop down here as well and get some sunscreen. There's also sunscreen in this portal as well. So if you need, either depending on which one you want to go with, you can easily cover that, no big deal. But otherwise, it's like, try to maintain your gem count, because at this point right now, we're actually going to be working up here. I think I would be higher in a normal run because, again, I've been restarting and going back and trying things and getting things for the perfect take. None of them are perfect, but gives you the general sense, and I want to at least give you an idea of what it would look like. My gem count is scarily low, but we'll see if we can change that. But our next upcoming destination is inside of airships, and inside of airships is painful. This one you're gonna have to be very mindful, because LD soldiers will touch you for an entire heart of damage, and there is only 3. So health is not free flowing, and neither is the gem flow. And we actually do want to try to be as close to 4, if not at 4, for the opening of the boss. So this one will be tricky. Again, I think you would be closer than the scenario that I am in, but that's basically airships 3 or outside of airships, and we'll go into inside now. Inside of airships, this one, you've got to be good. You got to be quick. You got to maintain your gem count. Actually, very important to go into this with level 4 if at all possible, or at least really, really close to. If you're really, well, I say close to, but I'd say within probably 36 gems, easy. If you can be here within 36 gems, normally you pop in, you can immediately bubble and do that and grab that. There's full health in that one, or if you need extra gems, there's a ton down here to be gotten. And if you need even more, there's even more there. But you want to be max level because these soldiers, the running ones, die in 1 hit. So if you can maintain that, important, grab that sunscreen really quick, and then watch for soldiers coming in behind you. They weren't waiting. Grab that one really quick, and now what you want to do, go on up. Narc has just corrected me. It is 48 gems. Tank damage here on purpose, because you can get your gems pretty much back here right away. Be careful here, because now you're gonna start taking extra damage. So this is the trick of this is kind of this is the scary part of doing that now, because now you don't have your full health. Oh God. I just realized how scary that was. And that will put you in a precarious spot dealing with screens like this. But you can quickly just use your bubble to kind of get through both of those locations. If you want a quick ascend, you use the chains, or you can use your bubbles. Either rate, you can just basically skip and ignore a lot of the mechanics of that particular one. There's a full health at the end there, and unfortunately I wasn't able to maintain level 4. Ideally, I'd still want to be level 4 here, so you can use that bat damage boost, but it might be mindful that it does put you in a scary spot, as you just saw, because the dynamics with the soldiers changes immediately upon taking that. You now are 2 hits instead of 1. Also, do take note, you are still taking sunburn damage indoors, protected from the sun by metal, and that sun still does damage. So make sure you grab your sunscreen as necessary. Yeah, that was the other thing too. I did have some bad gem luck after the damage boost, as was pointed out by Narc as well. You can get you maybe kill a soldier or 2, they might drop you a 5er, whatever. I mean, it doesn't sound offense, but I'm just making the joke. You're inside, supposedly protected from the sun, and yet you're burning. All right. All right. Our next boss is Ammo Baron. Arguably, as Narc had pointed out to me in our little break here, that this is probably the hardest Ammo Baron fight of all of the modes, just because you don't have a lot of good DPS options. Beach mode is the weakest from an offensive standpoint. You have your hair damage, which right now, ideally, if you've come in here at level 4, you're in a good spot, but it's not exactly a guarantee that you're going to get away with this one. Your main source, or basically the main thing you got to do is take him down as quickly as possible, but at the same time, you do have to worry about your sunscreen situation, which comes from his ads, so make sure you target and take down soldiers as much as possible. Your beach ball is not the most effective way of doing that, because this does not have enough damage, I don't think, to one-shot the soldiers. If it does, that's great, but it only does 1 at a time. Your hair whip likely can take out 3 or 4, depending on how good you are with that and the timing of it. You've got to pick and choose your DPS moments too. Like, you can't just stand in there whipping away damage on him. Likely you'll probably leave yourself in a very bad and vulnerable spot, as the damage does add up very quickly in this fight, and it can really be scary and deadly, especially with the way that his attacks work. He's got a few different phases he goes through, where he's going to bring soldiers around him. He's going to launch them at you at random, but mainly aimed at you for the most part. And if you're not quick enough in knocking them out of the way, that can add up. And then secondarily, he will bring them around him and then start rotating them around him in a big shield. That's probably a good time for you to be killing soldiers to get some sunscreen drops. The other time to do that will be when he has an aiming reticle that aims for you. You can stutter step that out of the way to make them miss you. But at some point, you're going to want to turn around and try to kill some of them just to get some sunscreen drops, as you could be waiting a long time for your next opportunity for that. So you've got to really balance out kind of like your sun management as well as your DPS here in order to get through this fight in a relatively good state. We'll give it a shot here. No guarantees that I'm going to execute it very well, but we'll try to give a good idea of what this fight should look like. I've already made a mistake by bumping into him, and that's not even him moving. That's just me being a little klutzy. Here's the stutter stepping technique. At a certain point, I'm going to want to turn around and be aggressive here, just so I can make sure I get a sunscreen, because it's about every 5-6 or so these soldiers will drop it, but then he starts getting aggressive himself, and that's where this starts to add up a little bit. So you don't want to be in a position here. Like right now, he should be doing the circular thing, but I've taken out all of his ads, so now I get a free DPS, and that's going to be an important thing. I've now moved him into the next phase. Sunscreen I needed. Okay, so the beach ball does have enough to do that, and if you place it right, it's not a terrible option. There we go. So that's kind of an idea of what the fight should look like. You are going to just tank damage. It is unfortunate. That fight, in order to get through it relatively quickly, is a necessity. So that's kind of what it looks like. Practice for better results, obviously. You will come in at full health, whether you're level 4 or not. Just depends on how well you deal with the inside of airships. I would recommend trying to be level 4 if you can. If you're not, you can get away with it level 3. But that'll give you a general sense of how that can go. Right now, I'm probably not in the best of positions going into the next part, but there are some gems. We'll see what we can do. All right, moving on. Thanks for the GGs. God, that was a pain. I'd forgotten how rough that fight can be. Thanks for reminding me, Narc, that this is actually the hardest one of the costumes. Of at least beach mode being that one. Jeez. Right, that movement was not correct. I was pressing to the right the whole time. See, I speedrun the messenger and I like to hold right. Holding right is not a good thing in this one per se. Not always. There's a little bit quicker strat than that too. There you go. That's what you want to do. There's gems both there and there if you need them. This is the quick part. Really quick jump here. We'll avoid that gal. If you really want to take it slow, you could pop out those blocks, wait for her to do her thing, and then get out of the way. Really easy. Really quick movement here. Again, more gems if you need. Around this corner. There's sunscreen there, more gems, and that soldier dies in one hit. No problem. All right, so this one here, you want to purposely take damage off the bat if possible. And I did not do that properly. I think I want to wait for the other one first. But you get through there. Believe me, taking the 4 points of damage off the spider was not the ideal scenario in this case. So normally what you'd want to do is try to get that first bat to come to the left with you, but it doesn't always work that way. You could also just very carefully follow the spider to the right, and then the very next bat that appears, damage off of that one, and then go through the spider. The spider has a hell of a knockback too, on top of doing 4 points of damage, so it's way more preferable to take the damage boost off the bat than it is to take it off the spider for multiple reasons. All right, next up is Graveyard, stage 5-2. This one, normally you're riding a bunch of like eyeball platforms to get through. You can ignore all of that. Fortunately, you've got the bubble that allows you to just say, you know what, I'm going to fly through this stage Obviously, you can't fly over everything because they've got, you know, protections to keep you from just going over the top. Thank you after version 1.0, which the costume modes were even a twinkle in somebody's eye at that point. Well, they probably were. They just hadn't put them out yet. Any rate, 5.2 is really just about knowing when to jump, when to bubble, and when to avoid damage. So here's a basic idea of what it's going to look like. You've got basic cycles that you're going to be trying to beat here, and those cycles allow you to get the sunscreen without any problem. But you really just don't really care about the eyeball platforms. You don't care about a lot of the enemies. You're just going to go low here just to avoid that bat from dropping on your head. Go over the spiders, obviously. Go low here just to respect that. You kill that bat on the way up. Jerk birds are jerk birds, but you know, you can usually pretty easily avoid them. Bubble jump here. Well, I say bubble jump and then I fail it. Okay. Platform save me. Go really low here. Not to the point where you obviously want to go on the death plane, but you know, enough to get around that. Duck. You can also go over that too. Probably better and faster if you just go over it. And then a bubble jump here. Get you between the spider and the bat without any problem. Well, not worried about the health here because you do get a full health here. This one's tricky. That's if you're still without having gotten any of those squids. That one's a tricky one that will probably get you. And then last ditch effort for gems here. Basically, probably not going to get. It's fine because you're going to be taking a lot of damage here, but there's a lot of opportunity to get a lot of gems too. So preserving level 4 or even trying to stay, I'd say you want to try to stay maybe mid to high level 3 if at all possible, but you're not really wanting to go out of your way for gems here. There's going to be a lot of opportunity during the boss fight. I've heard that this one is kind of one that really hung people up for a lot, so we're going to try to get through this boss fight relatively easy. It's just a little painful up front, and then you've got options to play it safe or be a little aggressive in phase 2, so it's really kind of player choice here. We'll kind of run through that scenario as we go into our dual barons. All right, our next fight is the dual barons, so be ready for this. This is just like it basically plays out exactly the same way that it does in the main story quest. You've got Hypno Baron, you've got Squid Baron. Squid Baron will always take point in regards to going first. He's where you're going to take some damage, unfortunately, but with enough hair strikes, he starts to drop a bunch of gems as well as your sunscreen that you're going to need. So you've got to kind of keep up the DPS on him, 1, just to keep your damage up, and 2, to make sure that you're not roasting to death, and also keeping the gem count relatively steady so that you are able to kind of carry it forward moving on here. So we'll go through this real quick. You want to try to down Squiddy as quickly as possible. Then you got to worry about them both at the same time. There are some options there that you can do, but mainly it's still the same kind of thing. So want to take down Squid Baron first. He's the scarier of the two, especially if you happen to, whatever reason, take down Hypno Baron first. You do not want to see Squiddy's second phase when he's on his own. It's way difficult to deal with. So basically focus down the squid. Sorry, Squiddy, we love you, but that's just the way it's going to be. All right, here we go, Squid Baron. So you want to get in there, try to hold your ground, grab what you can, hold your ground, and then deal with his phase after that. Now during this, you can just punk him all day. Punk him with your beach balls. That'll drop him out really quick. So that was decent. We got sunscreen, we got some gems. We lost a little bit more when he went into the fly, but no problem there. Now, second verse. Second verse, here we go. This is just basically kind of follow. Hope that this doesn't happen RNG wise. You really want him to be dropped near you. If this happens, just duck underneath. If you can get in there, you can really grab everything that you need. And then just avoid the green goo. Try not to get hit with the green goo. But he goes down easy. Now, your options here This is where you've got two choices. You can try to be aggressive in his face and hair whip him, move along with his circles. If you want to play it safe, just toss beach balls like going, like they're going out of style. You see, I've got about half a magic meter after the first phase. That's a pretty decent amount. Probably not enough to kill him. Probably have to get some hair strikes in there. But if you really want to play it safe, this will be your best bet. You can do this from any angle because of the fact that they bounce around everywhere, so you don't have to worry about it. You just want to make sure that you are staying underneath them. And then, of course, you got to get a hair strike in there for some. The other thing that you can do, which is a little scarier, it's actually way scarier, would be there's some like early strikes that you could do. Well, no, that's different category. Never mind. I don't want to think about that. The bubble is not your friend. Don't bubble jump. It's scary, but that's basically the fight in a nutshell. You've got those two options. Again, the safer one is just punk him with beach balls until you're out of magic. A few extra hair strikes after that will take him down. If you get a very good favorable movement pattern with him where you can kind of be in his face, you could get a lot more hair whips in, which would take him down way quicker. You just got to respect the fact that he's moving really quick. And I believe a touch of him is 4 points of damage. So hugging the ammo baron is not a good strat. But that's basically it in a nutshell. Pretty self-explanatory. Got to get some hair strikes in because the fact that I don't think the beach ball drops your sunscreen, you do need to watch out for that. So a hair strike here and there, always a better option if you can, at any rate. That's our dual barons. Moving on. Oh, thanks, Shantae. I'll take a look at the list soonish. We got one more stage and another boss fight to get through. But I'll check out tonight. Obviously, there'll be something for me to go, great. Now how I'm going to add in practice and getting ready for that on top of everything else that's going on in my life. But thank you, I guess. Thanks for the good luck, Rocco. Hope you're doing well. All right. These are the stages I'm not looking forward to, Narc. These are the stages I'm not looking forward to at all. It's Risky's Lair. This is the famous Sequinland North Shore. It's really, really hot here. And very spiky too. Here's the next one. Perfect. See, that's an easy first screen. Just fly over everything, forehead. Yeah, so that brings up a point. I'm going to go ahead and keep that as a take. Like, this first stage is extremely just that. You need to fly, you need to go, but you've got enough time to make your next sunscreen before the damage kicks in. To Narc's point in chat, there is a lot less gems here in officer mode, and this particular one, you want to maintain your level 4. You need it going into the final fight. Like, it's not a requirement, it's not like mandatory, but if you really want to keep speed up, then that's going to be a thing. You need the 8 points of damage from the hair strikes, and then your beach ball spamming ability is kind of important towards the latter part of that fight. So you do want to make sure that, yeah. And also pointed out by Narc, and in fact the pot that I'm in front of right now is full health, and there are a lot of those. So more often than not, these giant pots that you see here are going to be health restores, not gem count. So keep that in mind, like as an example. There's plenty of sunscreen along the way. You don't have to worry about that. Do watch out for the Tinkerbats. They do the gunshots do 4 points of damage. So you want to make sure that you are not eating that. I think a full level, I think if you're at level 4 max, we'll find out shortly, but I think you can one-shot the helicopter guys. So you can, pick and choose your damage points. There are some gems to be had, just not many. You got to kind of learn like where they are, when you think you can get away with that. But the main thing is just don't get shot, because the damage is just too much. And that does add up on here. Oh god, that was a mistake. I'm gonna keep this for going. Fortunately, I don't lose damage for that because I was in iframes. Immediately falling in the lava, not a bad thing. I didn't think I was gonna get past the Okay, that does not. You can't one-shot these with level 4. So respect these floating guys with guns. They will mess your day up. If you feel like you need to kill them, do that if you have to. That's always an option for sure. Don't feel like you have to though. A lot of them can be avoided pretty simply. You wait that out just to make that cycle a little bit cleaner. Be sure to grab this sunscreen before you come in here. Bubble jump goes a long way there if you really need to make it tight. Oh, and then I got greedy. Respect these guys. They add up. Oh, shoot. Okay, that works. That little duck there at the end just saved my rear end. You do need to watch yourself to that gauntlet. If those guys are on a different cycle, you're likely to get shot there, and you don't want that to happen. Yeah, to Nark's point in chat, you can get a quick 2-hit in one jump. Your hair speed is just get used to the whipping hair speed, I think is a big part of it. Part of it would be come in with the jump and whip and then whip on the way back down. That's certainly a way to do it. Just make sure that you hit them twice. That's the important thing, because if you don't, they're going to likely shoot you in the face, and every bullet shot from them, full heart of damage, 4 points of damage, so you want to avoid that. Otherwise, you could just tank a little hug with them. 2 points of damage, use the iframes to get through. Certainly an option, but again, keep in mind that your gem count is kind of important. There's not many opportunities for those. Our next step here, obviously, will be the third and final screen leading up to the boss. This one's more about watching out for spikes and moving through optimally, so we'll see if we can do that. And I probably should restart the screen already, but we're just gonna go. That was sketch, and I didn't even need to do it. Okay. So yeah, don't worry about that first sunscreen. Second one's right here. Cycles here are tricky. They're not really. They're not as bad as it looks. So what you want to do here is basically come in and just kind of go low. Do that. Unfortunately, again, this is going to be a heart. So you don't want to necessarily get that, but it is what it is. Keep high here, because the next sunscreen will be before you have to worry about it. Easy. This one goes really high, so be mindful of that. Grab this ring. You can do some tricky stuff here if you want to. You can go underneath without grabbing that ring. That ring is safety. That's also going to be a full heart, so unfortunately you're not going to get any gems here if you need them. Come in low here. A double hit there would be very important because it will set you up for really kind of avoiding that particular guy. Or you can just run. Generally, running underneath them isn't going to be a big problem. Come up over this guy for sure, because you're already not going to have a lot of room. Don't fly up too high. There's that invisible ceiling problem. And now we're in trouble. Now I'm putting myself in a very precarious location here. All right. So again, that's going to be a full heart. No gems to be had. The drought continues. You can respect this guy. I don't blame you if you do. Or you can do a bubble jump over him really quick. Bubble jump is probably the safer option. It's quicker for sure. Bubble jump here, be able to get you through the gap that's likely to be presented to you. And then make sure you respect that you're probably not going to kill him first. And you get the recharge on the sunscreen. That again is going to be full health and not going to be of any help to you. That's the end of that particular one. And unfortunately, I did not get here at 4. Ideally, again, you want to be here at 4. There are some gems that can be had as long as you do this damage list. But Risky's patterns are, well, you need to memorize them. I don't think they're RNG in this particular one, as I recall. Yeah, I believe that this is not RNG. I believe it's actually a pattern. So if you learn the pattern, the fight's not hard. The RNG points will be how far she jumps when she does her jumping. That's always a thing. And generally, in these costume modes, if you've run any of them, will come to realize that she's gonna aim to hit you. There's nothing for it. She just tries to do it. And yes, the world record of this does have Risky at level 3 going in, so it's not even the most optimal yet. I mean, he admits that there is time to be saved. Go ahead and laugh about these pots. I believe if you're running Ultimate Edition, there are 4 or 5 of them. These are just version markers by Way Forward. It is what it is. But the fight itself is moderately straightforward, but not necessarily, so we'll kind of go through it as we can. Big ass pots.
Oh, it's you.
Oh, it's you. Yes, it is. Oh, it's you. Hi, Risky Boots. So Risky's got a few different things that she does. Her most effective attack is Casual Jog. Be mindful of it. Very, very painful. She'll do that regularly at certain points. Her jump is also very effective. Be mindful of that. Dodge appropriately. She will try to shoot you. There are certain ones you can duck under and other ones you can't. So just know which ones that you do. The spread pattern is the ones you can't duck under unless you want to be really close and personal with her in ducking. Then you can actually avoid it, but that's like pixels of window to do so. I wouldn't recommend it. Maybe respect the shot more than try to stay in close and personal like that. And then she'll move into other phases. Hopefully we don't get to see her full suite. Ideally, that'd be the scenario. Even at level 3, should be able to get through this without too much trouble. So we'll give it a go. Immediate jumps. Oh, she does 2. I thought she did 3. And her speed, her casual jog isn't really a casual. It's more like a sprint. Duck, jump. Watch out for this. This does a lot of damage. You do not want to eat it. Funk her with a beach ball whenever appropriate. Oops, that was the wrong timing. I thought she was going to run. Oh god, yeah, 8 points. Oh, so not 8 points of damage. I thought it was 8 points of damage. It's only 4 in this, thank god. This is a good opportunity for gems and sunscreen. You can smack the cannon, and in this part, you can jump up and hit her. You can also throw some cannonballs, and you can get some items from the Tinkerbats. Completely up to you. Just respect the grenades. Don't eat the grenades if you can. Avoid it. And keep level 3 very easily in this fight with the amount of gems that drop. Just watch out for casual jog. Repeat. Now, ideally, she'd have been dead during that cannonball swing. So that's how slow that fight was, but that's basically it in a nutshell. You got to see kind of all of her attacks. And again, during the swing, that's probably when she's likely to be dead. You can keep up the damage. You don't take too much, and you can stick with her. You'll finish her off with a few like beach ball shots, and that basically would end the fight. So we'll try to see what that looks like. If I can't, oh, I can't. Once you get past that particular point, it basically won't let you dip back. So we'll get through this particular part here. This is just the final auto scroller of the run. So you do again have to worry about pits. There are nothing else really you don't have a health bar. There is no sun meter either, so you don't have to worry about picking up sunscreen during the course of this. It's funny, we spent the entire game worrying about sunscreen and keeping our body cool, and here we are in a final spot that has no worry about it, even though we're being chased by walls of lava. I don't question it. Whatever. Moving on. So this one, the only thing that you've got to worry about are pits. You can handle it a few different ways. You're really good and confident in your ability to bubble jump in air, then just do that the entire way and you're fine. If you're not so confident in your ability to do that, then just basically memorize the platforms. There are a couple of really scary, sketchy parts at this point, so if you're not comfortable with learning that, then maybe you do learn the bubble jump route, but either way, basically going to look a little something like this. You can do this all the way if you want. And trust me, this is the easier way to go. By a mile, and it's a big window. Just look at all this jumping I don't have to do. If you do fall in a pit, it's insta-gib and back to the beginning of the auto-scroller for you. And honestly, when I don't remember how these platforming things go, because there's a super tight one coming up here after this next segment. And if you don't respect it, or if you don't remember it, it will get you. Yes, input dropping is a thing that can occur. Absolutely. The scary jump is coming up after these. This platform is super tiny. That, like, right... Oh, I think this is there's a different version. Maybe that's just base game only. But there's like a super tiny platform you have to land on, and then you keep going. But this looks way easier. At any rate, I'm just going to do this because I'm a show off, and I'm not scared of doing this at all. Time will be as soon as the screen goes full white. Time. Right there. So that's basically beach mode in a nutshell.